My name is Paul Thompson. I'm an architect here in Philadelphia. I'm a CPHC. I'm a lead B and D, lead B, was it? Lead B and C. What do you get? I'm lead certified. You can tell how much I use that. Laura and I started a firm about 15 years ago named Blue Path Design. I'm not currently at Blue Path Design, but in this house that we're building together, I get to enjoy green building and passive house building, and get to use my skills that I am really passionate about and love to speak about.
I'm Laura Blau, and principal of Blue Path. I also created Green Steps this year as my passive house construction and construction management firm, so that I am actually the GC on this project in addition to the passive house consultant and designer with Paul. So we are basically, you know, I am the boss of everything. I am the owner, the passive house consultant, the designer, and the contractor. So when I'm on the job site as a 5'2.5" woman, all the contractors have to answer to me.
We're renovating a 4-unit row home. It's in Philadelphia. It's right near Rittenhouse Square, which is a nice neighborhood.
It's the Rittenhouse-Fitler Square Historic District.
Right.
So we have to meet Philadelphia, which is probably one of the most restrictive historic commissions in the country, for good reason. Here we are in Philadelphia, the home of the birthplace of America. So, you know, we have a lot of very rigid regulations that we have to comply to.
We're on track to be the first passive house certified, historically registered project in Philadelphia. And we're finding that young folks in particular who don't necessarily know anything about passive house, are not particularly necessarily skilled in the trades. When they hear about it, they get really excited. Right. People can relate to what is air tightness. They understand, you know, because you can touch it, it's physical. You can understand the concept of it, and they get really excited about actually doing the work. And that's really great to see, because we're planting seeds.
This is eminently a trainable skill.
And as we're doing it in this particular project, you know, it's a historic house. It's 170 years old. We are basically on the first floor, and the basement, it's a complete gut except for the floor framing. The upper floors, we're trying to leave as much there as possible, but still significant work, and of course significant challenges particularly in the air barrier and the air tightness, and getting the windows in. You know, we have existing openings and so forth. But what's fun about it is that there's maybe not every, but most possibilities of how do you deal with an air sealing issue, and different materials, from the trowel on and the roll on, the fabrics, and lime plaster and regular plaster. I didn't really understand, you know, the chemistry between the differences between a plaster that it works in wet plaster and regular plaster, which just has to look good. Although plaster is an excellent air barrier, it's vapor open. They probably built a lot of cathedrals that fell down before they figured out how to do it the right way. Figuring out how do you make a vapor open wall, or even if we can't make it vapor open on both sides, how do we make it at least dry to one side? And while meeting the interfit standards particularly for the first floor and the basement, where we have more flexibility.
We had, for a while, we would, you know, okay, this one's a 3-width wall with plaster, but the next floor it's a 3-width wall without plaster, and then it's a 2-width wall, you know, and this is hard brick, but in the back it's crappy brick, you know, very porous brick. And, you know, so we have so many conditions in this building, you know, that, you know, the list, and it's like a patchwork quilt that we have to present for our certification, because there are more than a dozen wall types
So let's
with
walk,
conditions.
let's step back and maybe we should describe what the project is.
Our front facade is the best brick you could buy in the day. It was actually called Philadelphia brick.
But where our building science challenges are at the rear walls, the rear and the side walls that face, it's a street, but it's essentially an alley at the rear. It is brick. It's a street. We're within the Rittenhouse-Fitler Historic District. And the Historic Commission says, if you can see it from the public way, then you have restrictions as to what you can do to the materials. What we were proposing was to cover the brick with EIFS or some other insulation material in order to increase the insulation value and to sort of deal with the air tightness, but maybe more importantly, to protect the brick. It's a very soft, very, very poor quality brick.
When we presented this the first time to the Historic Commission, they said, sorry, we don't believe in predictive models. We don't care if it's a WWOOFy model and it's internationally renowned. Forget it. You know, we won't let you do this. We presented to the Historic Commission the building science issues of protecting the wall and that it was deteriorating and falling apart from the inside out, and that we have an indoor air quality that we can't solve in any other way.
The Historic Commission did allow us to install passive house windows in a simulated double hung configuration. So
the long and the short of it is that we went through various levels of appeals, and we finally won an appeal, and that attorney for the city understood sustainability and energy efficiency, and understood that the Pennsylvania, the amendment, the Environmental Bill of Rights also would apply to the city of Philadelphia. What the Bill of Rights states is that all citizens are deserve to have, you know, healthy air, healthy water, and to live, have a clean environment. We had to represent our case, which we did with a building science expert and a climate science expert, and various people like Ken Levinson came down from New York to talk about, you know, general principles. So we had a lot of support, and basically the commission was able to, with this new information verified by these experts, they were able to reconsider their decision. Yeah. And with the instructions of the attorney for the city, telling them they had they were trustees of the environment first and commissioners for historic preservation, but the trustees of the environment actually trumped that, and they had to now put a new set of lenses on and reconsider this with this new set of lenses. This is, we are in our, what Laura terms as our green dinosaur. This was a row home that we renovated 14, 15 years ago. And at the time we didn't, you know, of course we didn't know anything about passive house. What I think is pathetic. Two Ivy League, you know, yeah. Architects, right, doing green. So and we work for good architects, have good education, well read, you know, lead, blah blah blah. Never heard of the term air sealing, which really says a lot for the architectural education and the architectural community and the engineering community. You know, because I worked on projects and I had fancy engineers, and I thought my job was to give them 4 inches of insulation, of room for, you know, for insulation. And looking back, I think, well, how come they didn't ask me what my air sealing goals were, or where's the air barrier? I would think that would have been I mean, I would not have had the answer, but yeah. The insulation behind the plumbing pipes. They put the insulation on the warm side of the pipes and not on the cold side. So we spent a whole weekend restuffing our insulation to the back. Behind the pipes, so we don't have frozen pipes. But anyways, that's our green dinosaur. We won 2 awards for it, Sustainable Design Awards. That I now, you know, say, yeah, we know a lot more about how to do this. I want it to be that why would we give an award to anyone if they don't have an efficient building? Like, you know, we're looking at a climate crisis, and we're going to give award to some gorgeous but leaky thing.